Was Eddie probably the only guy that could pick up the phone and talk to Vern Gagne, Sam Muchnick, and Vince McMahon Sr. anytime he wanted to?
I think he was the only guy that could pick up the phone and be on their level. Vince had watched the Florida wrestling, and he said, hey, I like that guy Backlund. He's an All-American boy, amateur wrestler, all this. And Eddie said to him, yeah, he's great, but you want to take Kern because of his father's background. If you're looking for the All-American boy, and the kid can talk better than Bobby, and I think you can make a lot more money quicker with Steve, in the angle with the father.
Who was a war hero and a prisoner of war in
twice, Vietnam and World War II.
That's right.
So he said, no, I'm going to go with Backlund. And they got into this little kind of jousting where they were laughing. And Eddie said, I bet you $100 that you can't make Backlund like you can Kurt. And he said, oh, I'll make him okay. And that's what he did, right? God bless Mike. He was one of my dearest friends. And he was under a horrible strain with the father in different situations. We'll get to that. But Eddie knew that Mike wasn't going to be the world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
But he also knew that Mike was a good talent, and he wanted Mike to be in the wrestling business. I go out fishing with Eddie. Now he starts telling me the problems he's having with Mike because Eddie himself is having marital problems. He unloads on me and tells me something that only Barnett and Terry Funk knew. So I'm now given this secret code that...
And you carry the burden.
Yeah, and I carry the burden, and I also have Mike up my ass because I'm not understanding what the problem is between his mother and father, but I do understand what the problem is. And Mike, before he died, found out about it and confronted me. And it was the hardest thing in the world for me to tell him. He said, why did you tell me? I said, how could I have told you? Yeah. And then he said, now I look back on it, things fall into place. He said, I guess I was too hard on my dad. I said, yeah, and it wasn't my place to tell you. Sunday was Orlando. Monday was West Palm. Tuesday was Tampa and Fort Pierce. If he wanted to cool you down, Fort Myers. If he wanted to cool you down for a while, he'd send you to Fort Myers. Even though Orlando is Orlando now, back then it was a, urban center where the town met the farm, you know what I mean? So you're drawn from two sections of people. So if it got over in Orlando, you knew, okay, we'll build on this TV. But if it didn't get over in Orlando, that program would be done and dusted.
Done and do something else.
Yeah.
Regularly,
Right.
Every Wednesday night at the convention hall. Dusty used to talk about, for all of you folks old enough, Jackie Gleason used to tape his television show there. From Miami Beach, the greatest audience in the world. Dusty loved to sneak in to the dressing room that Jackie Gleason would use and shit on Jackie Gleason's toilet. See, just, to say their asses had been in the same place.
Blackjack slammed me in the dirt and all this.
It's pitch black dark
Pitch
outside.
black dark out. He's whacking me in the head and he's stiff as board, but he can't see. So that's the end, Finally, we get away and we go for each other, and the cops come, and the next week, as the matches start, me and Blackjack come through the front door like we've been fighting all week.
Wearing the same shit, right?
Wearing the same shit and dirty, and come roll right through the ring and stop. The guys in the ring stop working. Well, look at us.
Eddie Graham would call Vince McMahon Sr. and say, can you take Dusty for just, for a couple weeks? I got to get somebody else over down here.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get anybody else over as long as Dusty Rhodes was still there. Nobody could get over Dusty.
They would have the Funks against the Briscoes in Florida in a tag match, right? And they would send that tape back, and they would re-audio the tape, so the Funks were baby faces in Amarillo.
In Amarillo, yeah.
And they would send it back the other way. You look back at Gordon and all those characters that were there. I mean, Curtis, Lewin, myself, Abby, Brody, Hanson. We could go down the list. The Sheik. He was in an invisible shield surrounded by an invisible shield. You couldn't touch him. You were going to lose your job if you went.
Yeah, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Hey.
So they said to me, you're in a cage match with Tyree. What if Mark comes down, the referee gets knocked down, and you guys hang him? I said, let me understand what you just said again. You want me to double team a black man and hang him in front of 99.9% St. Lucians out there?
You never worshipped the devil.
No, and I never said...
Explain this.
Okay.
Explain this for people.
Who is following me for the summer? We're going to the burning sands. We're toughing our feet up. The people looked at me and they went, whoa, let's go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? Everything was going along fine until Abner put on, without no disclaimer from me, the devil is my manager. That's all they had to see in the Deep South. Eventually, Mark would say to him, hey, you want a beer? Well, I'm not supposed to. He said, who's going to know? You think I'm going to tell you? Yeah, we got a cop drinking the beer on the side of the road, and we're in a black robe and a purple robe. But that must have looked good to the people going by, huh?
Of all the classic wrestling territories, there was one that numbered among the smallest geographically, but exerted an oversized influence on the world of pro wrestling and the people in it, Championship Wrestling from Florida. That outsized influence was due to one man, Eddie Graham. Called a genius, even a visionary by wrestlers and promoters around the world, he named champions, settled disputes, often decided the winners of promotional wars, and produced more successful booking proteges than any other promoter. Graham did all that from his home base in Tampa, Florida, the wrestling capital of a state where the sport had a clean public image and its stars were household names. For 25 years, pro wrestling was a nightly event before big crowds, before it ended in tragedy, in questions with no real answers. This is the story of Eddie Graham's empire in the Sunshine State, Championship Wrestling from Florida.